You're listening to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, created to help you succeed in your Security Plus certification journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional prepcasts, books, and training materials await. Let's get started. Vulnerability scan data plays a central role in modern security programs because it establishes baseline visibility into an organization's exposure. Without systematic scans, security teams are essentially blind to weaknesses lurking across their networks, applications, and cloud infrastructure. Scanning tools probe systems, identify services, and map vulnerabilities against known databases, such as the Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures (CVE) catalog. These outputs form the foundation for remediation prioritization, ensuring that limited patching and configuration resources are applied where they reduce the most risk. For learners, think of scan data as a medical exam. It may not cure the patient directly, but it reveals where attention is needed, whether that's high cholesterol, a fractured bone, or in our case, an outdated server version with a known exploit. Scan data, when managed correctly, transforms an organization's defensive posture from reactive guesswork to informed, prioritized action. Raw scan outputs often overwhelm newcomers, but understanding their structure is key to unlocking value. Most tools provide an asset inventory listing every host, application, or container detected during the scan. Each asset is then associated with findings, which reference specific CVEs, descriptions of the vulnerability, and often recommended remediation steps. Evidence fields back these findings with technical proof, such as service banners, open ports, or version strings collected directly from the asset. This evidence demonstrates why the scanner believes a vulnerability exists, helping analysts validate accuracy. For learners, it's useful to think of raw scan output like a doctor's lab report. It doesn't just say infection detected, it lists the symptoms, the test results, and the indicators that led to that conclusion. Raw outputs may look messy, but each field has investigative value if interpreted correctly. To make scan findings actionable, enrichment with asset context is essential. Raw results treat every host equally, but in reality, some assets are business critical, while others are low priority. By tagging scan data with asset owner, business function, and whether the system is internet-facing, organizations transform technical lists into risk-aware intelligence. For example, a medium severity vulnerability on a customer portal may demand faster remediation than a critical finding on an isolated lab system. Context helps avoid wasted effort and ensures remediation aligns with business priorities. For learners, this is like triage in emergency medicine. Two patients may arrive with similar injuries, but one is more urgent based on their underlying condition. Enrichment ensures vulnerability data is triaged effectively, highlighting which issues pose true organizational risk. Scan scheduling and coverage strategies are another cornerstone of effective vulnerability management. Scans must be frequent enough to capture new exposures promptly, but not so disruptive that they interfere with operations. Coverage must also be broad enough to include all production systems, cloud environments, and even remote endpoints. Scheduling may involve weekly scans for high-value systems, monthly scans for lower tiers, and continuous monitoring for internet-facing assets. Blind spots often occur when systems are excluded, whether deliberately due to performance concerns or unintentionally due to poor asset inventory. For learners, imagine fire inspectors only checking one side of a building. The other side may harbor hazards that go undetected. Scanning coverage and frequency must be deliberately planned to balance operational impact with the necessity of complete visibility. Authenticated versus unauthenticated scans determine the quality of results. Unauthenticated scans probe systems from the outside, identifying open ports and banners but often guessing at configurations. Authenticated scans log in with provided credentials, examining installed software, configuration details, and patch levels directly. The latter provides far more accurate results but requires secure credential management. Both approaches have value. Unauthenticated scans mimic attacker reconnaissance, while authenticated scans give deep assurance about internal state. For learners, think of this like inspecting a car. An external glance reveals dents and flat tires, but opening the hood shows worn belts or leaking fluids. Organizations need both perspectives to understand exposures fully, making credentialed scanning a critical component of mature programs. False positives are a common challenge in vulnerability scanning, and understanding their causes is essential. Sometimes version detection is imprecise, and scanners flag a vulnerability that does not apply to the specific build or patch level installed. Other times, compensating controls, such as virtual patching or firewall rules, mitigate a vulnerability even though it technically exists. Validation steps, such as checking patch levels manually or confirming exploitability, reduce wasted time. Without validation, teams risk chasing phantom issues and burning out remediation teams. For learners, think of this like a medical false alarm. A screening test might suggest illness, but further diagnostics reveal the patient is healthy. Validation ensures effort is spent on true vulnerabilities that matter, not on noise. Deduplication and grouping strategies are critical for transforming raw scan data into usable remediation tickets. Without consolidation, a single host with multiple findings may generate dozens of tickets, overwhelming IT staff. Grouping findings by host, vulnerability family, or business unit reduces noise and makes remediation workflows manageable. Deduplication also ensures repeated scans don't reopen identical tickets for already addressed issues. For learners, imagine a teacher grading homework. Instead of marking every repeated error individually, they group similar mistakes under one comment. Deduplication and grouping bring clarity, making vulnerability management more efficient and less frustrating for the teams tasked with fixing issues. Integrating scan results into ticketing and remediation pipelines turns data into action. Enriched scan findings must flow into issue trackers with required fields such as asset owner, severity, business impact, and remediation guidance. Without enrichment, tickets are too vague, frustrating IT teams who must dig for context. Automated pipelines reduce manual effort and ensure findings reach the right teams quickly. For learners, this is like hospital triage systems automatically routing patients to the correct department: cardiology, orthopedics, or emergency based on their diagnosis. Integration ensures vulnerability management is not just detection, but also remediation, with workflows aligned to organizational responsibilities and priorities. Reporting requirements vary depending on the audience, and scan data must be shaped accordingly. Technical teams need detailed reports that list every vulnerability, its severity, affected assets, and remediation instructions. Executives, on the other hand, need high-level dashboards showing trends, risk scores, and progress against service-level agreements. If executives are shown raw CVE lists, they may become overwhelmed or misinterpret priorities. For learners, this is like tailoring news for different audiences. Scientists want full data sets, but the public wants clear summaries. In vulnerability management, reporting must serve both technical depth and strategic oversight, ensuring all stakeholders get the information they need in the format they can act upon. Secure handling of scan data is essential because it often contains sensitive configuration details and, in the case of authenticated scans, even credentials. Scan data must be encrypted at rest and in transit, and access must be restricted to authorized personnel. Improperly protected scan data can become a roadmap for attackers if leaked. For learners, think of this like blueprints of a building. In the wrong hands, they reveal every weakness and access path. Treating scan data as sensitive ensures it strengthens defense, rather than inadvertently creating risk. Security controls around scanning systems must therefore be as strong as those protecting other critical assets. Retention and historical comparison give scan data long-term value beyond immediate remediation. By storing past results, organizations can demonstrate remediation progress, track how quickly vulnerabilities are closed, and identify recurring issues that suggest deeper process gaps. For example, if the same misconfiguration reappears every quarter, it signals a systemic problem rather than a one-off oversight. Historical comparisons also support compliance audits, showing regulators not just current posture, but trends over time. For learners, think of this like keeping health records. One blood test provides a snapshot, but multiple tests over years reveal patterns. Vulnerability data gains strategic power when preserved and analyzed historically. A practical exercise brings these ideas to life. Run a scan on a small asset set, such as a test subnet. Enrich the results with asset owner information and whether systems are internet-facing. Validate high-severity findings manually, then auto-create tickets for those confirmed issues. Finally, generate a weekly dashboard showing the number of open critical vulnerabilities and how long they have been outstanding. This workflow demonstrates the entire life cycle of scan data: collection, enrichment, validation, ticketing, and reporting. For learners, it's like practicing a clinical workflow: screening, diagnosis, treatment, and follow-up. The exercise reinforces how vulnerability scanning is not just about finding weaknesses, but about building structured pipelines that ensure they are remediated effectively and tracked over time. Automated reporting templates transform raw vulnerability data into consumable outputs tailored for different audiences. Instead of generating ad hoc reports after every scan, organizations can design standardized templates that highlight service-level agreement, SLA performance, trending exposures, and high-risk assets. SLA-focused reports emphasize overdue vulnerabilities, sorted by severity, helping teams focus on closing gaps within required timelines. Trending heat maps visualize whether the overall risk posture is improving or worsening, offering executives a quick way to gauge progress. Top 10 risky assets lists bring focus by highlighting the systems posing the most immediate risk to the organization. For learners, think of these templates as dashboards for health checkups. Rather than reading raw lab data, patients see clear charts showing cholesterol trends, high-risk areas, and immediate action items. Automated reporting ensures vulnerability data drives real remediation rather than sitting in unread spreadsheets. Executive Key Performance Indicators, KPIs, help translate scan data into language business leaders understand. Common KPIs include time to remediate broken down by severity, the percentage of critical exposures closed within SLA, and residual risk scores showing what remains unresolved. These metrics allow executives to measure whether the security program is reducing risk effectively without drowning in technical details. For instance, reporting that 90% of critical vulnerabilities were remediated within 14 days is more impactful for leadership than listing CVEs. Residual risk scores are especially useful in board discussions, showing whether risk is trending downward even if perfection remains out of reach. For learners, this is like financial dashboards. Investors don't need every transaction. They need net profit, debt ratio, and trends. Executives rely on KPIs the same way, making vulnerability metrics central to communicating security's business value. Technical reports, by contrast, must provide depth for engineers and administrators. These reports include patch applicability details, links to vendor advisories, step-by-step remediation instructions, and verification steps for confirming closure. They may also suggest workarounds where patches are unavailable, such as configuration changes or network restrictions. For remediation teams, this detail reduces wasted time and ensures they can act confidently. Without actionable technical content, tickets risk being ignored or delayed, as teams struggle to translate generic vulnerability notes into concrete fixes. For learners, think of this as a recipe. A headline might say, "Bake a cake," but technical reports provide the exact ingredients, oven temperature, and baking time. Security engineers need the same level of specificity to move from scan data to successful remediation. Validation and retest automation ensure tickets are only closed once remediation is confirmed. Automated pipelines can rescan assets after patches are applied, verifying that vulnerabilities no longer appear. If issues persist, tickets remain open, preventing premature closure. This step creates accountability and prevents false confidence. Without retest, vulnerabilities may linger despite leaving organizations exposed. For learners, this is like medical follow-ups after treatment. A prescription may be given, but doctors confirm recovery with tests before declaring a patient healthy. Retest automation makes vulnerability management disciplined, ensuring fixes are real rather than assumed. Not all vulnerabilities can be patched immediately, and some systems may never be patchable due to legacy dependencies. Exception and acceptance workflows provide a structured way to manage these cases. Teams can document why a vulnerability cannot be patched, define compensating controls such as segmentation or monitoring, and seek formal risk acceptance from leadership. This balances security with business reality, ensuring exceptions are visible and reviewed rather than ignored. For learners, think of this like building codes that allow temporary variances with documented safety measures. Exceptions are not ideal, but when tracked responsibly, they keep organizations safe while acknowledging real-world constraints. Normalization of scanner outputs is vital when organizations use multiple tools. Different scanners may label the same vulnerability differently, or structure findings inconsistently. Normalization maps these outputs to a common schema, allowing consolidated reporting and consistent metrics. Without normalization, leadership dashboards may double count or misrepresent exposures, eroding trust in the data. For learners, think of this like combining grades from different schools. Each school may use different grading scales, but normalization ensures they're converted to a common GPA. Scanner normalization makes vulnerability reporting trustworthy and cohesive, regardless of the tools feeding into it. Security and audit trails for scan-to-ticket pipelines are critical to proving provenance. Every step from initial scan output to ticket creation, enrichment, assignment, and closure must be logged. These trails allow investigators to confirm when tickets were created, how findings were validated, and whether SLA timelines were met. They also help defend the program against accusations of negligence by showing evidence was handled consistently. For learners, this is like keeping service logs on a vehicle. If something fails, records show what maintenance was performed and when. Security trails provide the same assurance, protecting organizations by documenting their remediation discipline. Automated escalation keeps aging critical findings visible to leadership. If high-severity vulnerabilities remain unpatched beyond SLA, alerts can be sent to managers or even risk committees. This prevents silent failures where teams deprioritize critical issues due to workload. Escalation ensures accountability and provides leadership with visibility into systemic bottlenecks. For learners, imagine a hospital where patient alarms escalate to supervisors if unattended. Critical vulnerabilities demand the same urgency, ensuring they cannot languish unnoticed. Automation makes escalation consistent and fair, preventing issues from being buried by sheer ticket volume. Measuring program health goes beyond tracking individual vulnerabilities. Health metrics include scan coverage. Are all assets being scanned regularly? Time to detect, time to remediate, and recurrence rates of vulnerabilities. Recurring findings are especially important because they highlight systemic problems, such as poor patch management or flawed configuration baselines. Program-level health metrics provide executives with confidence that vulnerability management is improving over time while highlighting areas that still need investment. For learners, think of this like evaluating a fitness program. One good workout proves little, but tracking performance trends over months shows true progress. Vulnerability management must be measured the same way. Continuous improvement requires analyzing reporting insights and adjusting the program accordingly. If reports show recurring failures to remediate certain vulnerability classes, teams may need to change patching cadence, adjust scan scopes, or improve detection tuning. Continuous improvement is not about blame, but about feedback loops that make programs more resilient. For learners, think of this like tuning a race car. Each lap provides data that engineers use to improve performance. Similarly, every scan cycle and report offers feedback that teams can use to refine their vulnerability management program. Improvement comes from iteration, not perfection in one pass. Thanks for tuning in to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, your trusted source for cybersecurity news and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.